I think this is a horrendous moment for Western democratic politics because it shows how singularly incapable the way we now manage our political structures with social media and the relentlessness of the news cycle, how singularly incapable we are of doing grown-up national security, foreign policy thinking. And in this country, it's also fed into an extremely pernicious cultural war that this government has been waging. And I will say it here, and I've said it before, I think my community are incredibly short-sighted in offering ourselves up to be deployed in that cultural war, because our well-being comes through being part of fighting intolerance and prejudice and being part of the struggle to have an equal, not racist, not xenophobic, all this about immigrants, etc., society. You know, in the US, the one thing that may actually budge Biden is if he starts seeing that that November 24 isn't quite looking so clever in certain places as a consequence of this. And the last thing I wanted to say on this is look, I agree that this is the time to challenge our governments because they are leading us down such a dangerous path. And this could, look, what happens in Gaza, if it keeps going on, we've already had more than 120 Palestinians killed in the West Bank. We've had 1,500 arrested. East Jerusalem hasn't popped yet. There's a climate of fear and terror inside 48 Israel. My Palestinian Israeli friends, fear stepping outside. Itamar Ben-Gvir, the national security minister, is handing out weapons. I believe he is only in power because of the indulgence of Israel's international backers in allowing extremism to run wild. So this could spread, and of course it could spread regionally. We haven't spoken about the northern border, etc. So what I'm saying in that is that this failure of Western politics needs to be challenged. But I also think we shouldn't be so surprised. I mean, wow, former colonial power that, you know, that built its wealth on how it treated the other. America, you know, built on the elimination of the indigenous population, its wealth built on you know, kind of, yes, please do better. But there's also an element of what would we expect here. And what I would say, amongst other things that have been shattered, is the notion that we can go to an American monopolized process for bringing peace to Israelis and Palestinians. And we live in an era of geopolitical fluidity, and bring it on. We had this thing called the Quartet. It was a joke. It was when America wanted some cover, it brought the Quartet people along. We must not return to that, and Palestinians must not return to that. If America says, let's come to an American-sponsored thing, we need a Palestinian leadership that is capable of saying, no, no thanks. We want these people in the room, if you want us in the room. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is here that Israel actually made what it was going to do clear. It has something that it implemented in 2006 in Lebanon called the Dahya Doctrine, which is a neighborhood in Beirut where Hezbollah has some of its leadership based. It's a Hezbollah stronghold. And one of the current war cabinet ministers was the chief of staff at the time, or maybe he was head of the Northern Command, Eisenkot. And he said that we will destroy this neighborhood. And the Israelis have said, some of the Israeli leaders have said, no, we don't distinguish between combatants and civilians. So they're not hiding this, that's what they're doing. I mean, look, I used to be based in the Kiryat, which is the Defense Ministry and IDF headquarters in Tel Aviv, which is kind of next to the plush, expensive towers of central Tel Aviv. The thing is, excuse me, this is what asymmetric warfare looks like. Now, if you actually want to isolate a militant insurgency, there are many ways of going about it. Keeping the entirety of the people in whom the militant insurgents are embedded against you is not one that has ever thought will work well. It's kind of counterinsurgency 101. You try and peel off as much of the population from the armed insurgency as possible. Israeli behavior towards the Palestinians 101 is make everyone hate you. If you're the PA and you've agreed to diplomatic negotiations and you've desisted from armed struggle, then embarrass the hell out of them. Make them your subcontractors. Make sure that they are vilified and hated and discredited amongst their public because they went into a process and they had the stupidity of believing you. If you're the rest of the civilian population in Gaza, keep them besieged, blockaded, collectively punish. If you're a kid that was born when the Israeli blockade in Gaza started, you're pretty close to finishing high school. You're somewhere in sixth form in our equivalents now. You know, there's an Israeli organization, a human rights organization, which deals extensively with Gaza, called Gisha, and many years ago already, 3 years into the beginning of the blockade, through a Freedom of Information request, they actually got the Israeli government to publish its policy of what it lets in. And it controls every kind of food type. And it said that they judged that to just keep people above the starvation line, it took 106 trucks a day of supplies. Today, we celebrated 45 trucks getting in because of the great efforts of the American administration. So yeah, if you want to offer an alternative, you give people belief in alternative. But as I think Avi said, you know, if Palestinians pursue non-violent sanctioning, then that's BDS, that's anti-Semitism and economic terrorism. If you go to the ICC, that's diplomatic terrorism and lawfare. I mean, yeah.